Hey everybody, it's Mike. Hope everything is wonderful in your world. I spent part of last week in Grapevine, Texas at the SHRM Talent Management Conference, and this is one of my favorite weeks of the year. I get to have really such meaningful and transformative experiences, and this year really as much or even more than at any other conference I've been to. I've met some really magical and wonderful people. And while I was there, the Boston Marathon was taking place. And what tends to happen when I'm at conferences like this, I try and get to sleep at a reasonable time, and I invariably end up scrolling on TikTok. And because the marathon had just happened, my TikTok feed, the algorithm, just kept spitting out at me inspirational story after inspirational story about the marathon. These moving testimonials from runners about the training that they endured to run the 26.2. And the theme that you heard over and over again in these testimonials throughout the course of these vignettes or these stories was that nobody starts running a marathon at 26.2 miles. That, except for these just wildly exceptional and frankly a little scary people, you have to train in order to run a race, or run, as I refer to it, a run, because it's not really a race for most people. In order to run 26.2 miles, it takes a lot of discipline, it takes a lot of work. And as I was watching these TikToks, it reminded me of a concept that I discuss all the time in leadership training, a concept that you've heard me actually refer to a few times in some of these videos, and that is the idea of relentless incrementalism. And relentless incrementalism is a strategy that prioritizes change through small, ongoing, persistent action. As a softball coach, I talk to my girls all the time about the fact that sustainable, meaningful change almost never happens with grand gestures. I use as an example the guy over my shoulder right here, a guy by the name of Tyrese Maxey, who plays for the Philadelphia 76ers. And Tyrese Maxey was a mid-first round draft pick several years ago and had, he was promising. There were some expectations, and he has become probably one of the 10 best players in the NBA. And it's not because he just decided one day, I'm going to take these massive steps. When you talk to Tyrese Maxey about where his incredible level of improvement has come from, what he will tell you is when he shows up, he wants to get 1% better every day. That's relentless incrementalism. What relentless incrementalism asks us to do is to make or to emphasize steady progress absolutely without expecting radical or dramatic or phenomenal change overnight. It's this consistency and resilience and relentlessness that can have and create this transformative and this extraordinary cumulative effect. And what I want to talk about today are 3 steps we as leaders can take to harness this idea of relentless incrementalism and to achieve the results, the positive results that we seek to achieve. And the first one is to create a learning culture. What we want to do with the people who report to us, with our colleagues as well, is encourage open dialogue and the presentation of new ideas. And after we have conversations about these new ideas and we engage in this open dialogue, we want to have some kind of post-action meetings. After the thought exchange takes place, we want to engage in debriefs to determine what worked and what didn't work. What are we going to leave by the wayside, and what processes, what ideas, what procedures are we going to work with that have come out of this meeting? Then what we try and do is we try and identify the necessary actions we need to take based on these new ideas to refine our approach, constantly moving forward, constantly recognizing that improvement takes time. It does not happen overnight. It very rarely occurs with the presentation of grand gestures. When we try and facilitate change in that way, invariably it boomerangs back. Second, we want to redefine success. The workplace experience for most of us is a living, breathing thing. It changes rapidly, it changes frequently, and we need to be able to maintain the flexibility and adaptability and continually and constantly redefine what success actually looks like. One of my favorite lines from one of my favorite movies is when Brad Pitt, playing Billy Beane in the movie Moneyball, looks at a scout who wants to continue doing things the way they have always been done. Why? Because that's the way they've always been done. And he looks at the scout and he says to him, adapt or die. Hyperbolic for sure, but message clearly and aggressively communicated. We're not going to continue to do things that don't work. We're not going to continue to do things the way they've always been done simply because that's the way they've always been done. As leaders, we need to shift our approach from simply trying new things to really focusing, to really honing in on continued improvement and effectiveness. We want to set attainable goals so that when we're attempting this idea of relentless incrementalism, when we're really using our values to focus on those things that are important, we want to set attainable goals. And when these victories occur, regardless or irrespective of how small, celebrate those victories. These victories tend to have a momentum and they build and continue to build upon themselves. Celebrate the victories, even and frankly, especially those that don't create immediate transformation. We're celebrating the fact that we're getting pointed, we're moving in the right direction. And remember at all times that modest gains will accumulate over time. So while it may not feel today like you've achieved a great deal, when we keep the momentum going, when we practice relentless incrementalism, we will see those small goals continue to build on themselves, see those small gains continue to build on themselves, and achieve that redefined success that we seek to achieve. And third, we want to try and continue to build strategic partnerships. Building strategic partnerships and increasing collaborative efforts really minimizes the danger of over-prioritizing our first move because we have voices from the outside. We're hearing different perspectives, getting different viewpoints. It also tends to minimize the danger of shortchanging the subsequent actions that we do actually need to take. Creating these internal and or external alliances, broaden experiences, broaden talent, and allow for growth, continually starting from the ground up. So what do? Number one, we want to continue creating and embracing and maintaining this learning culture. We want to redefine what success looks like, recognizing that our workplace is a living, breathing organism that requires adaptability at all times. We want to build and we want to maintain strategic partners and collaboration to hear outside viewpoints. Friends, most people can't run a marathon on day one. It takes resilience, it takes patience, it takes relentlessness. Similarly, as leaders, change takes time. Adaptability and recognition that small and steady will win the race is of paramount importance. As always, friends, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for commenting. Thank you so much for sharing. Hope to see you real soon.